Willow on the road, the police call, and Michael heading to the station. Let us start with a full picture of how Jacinda's decision, made in a split second, in a room she was not supposed to be in, with pills she had been carrying around for months, has now produced a crisis that nobody involved would have chosen, and that is going to have consequences that reshape every storyline connected to these characters. Jacinda had those pills in her purse. She had gotten hold of them from something connected to Ezra's place, remnants of a situation from months earlier that she had never fully disposed of. She was not walking around Port Charles planning to use them. They were just there, in the way that things accumulate in a life that has been complicated, items that outlast the situations that generated them. And then she walked in on Nina and Willow. 2 coffees on the table. 1 for each of them, clearly labeled. Willow right there, a woman who has gotten a restraining order keeping Jacinda away from the children Jacinda cares about, a legal document that felt, when it landed, like a declaration of war. And in the space of a moment that lasted probably 3 seconds in real time, Jacinda reached into her purse and made the worst decision of her Port Charles story. 1 pill. Willow's coffee. And then she walked away. What Jacinda could not have known, what she had absolutely no way of accounting for, was that the Quartermain nanny was sick that day. That the cancellation meant Willow unexpectedly had Wiley and Amelia with her. That the careful, controlled scenario Jacinda imagined, Willow impaired, alone, doing something that could be documented and used, had instantly become something far more dangerous because 2 small children were now going to be in the same orbit as whatever the drug produced. There was one moment where the situation almost corrected itself. Wiley got thirsty. He reached for his mother's coffee. And Willow, who is a genuinely attentive mother even in the middle of all her terrible choices, told him no, not that drink, the caffeine is not for you. Crisis averted. Child protected. Coffee intact. And then Willow drank more of it herself. By the time she finished half that cup she was thoroughly affected, operating in that specific altered state where everything feels wonderful and exciting and slightly too vivid. The sneak peek footage captures it perfectly. She is gushing. She is animated beyond her baseline. She is making plans for skee-ball tournaments and milkshakes and driving by the lake to see the lights and going to the arcade with the full enthusiasm of someone whose judgment has been chemically overridden by something they do not know is happening to them. She does not know. That is the most important thing to keep holding on to. Willow is not being reckless. She is being unknowingly impaired. She left her purse behind because she did not think she needed it for a fun afternoon with her kids. She did not forget her license on purpose. She was not planning to drive impaired. She simply had no information that should have stopped her. But she is on the road with Wiley and Amelia in the car. The children in the back seat are doing what children do when a parent is being unusually animated. They're having fun with it. They think she is being silly. They are enjoying this version of their mother, who is laughing at everything and making everything sound like the greatest adventure. They cannot see what the police officer who eventually pulls Willow over will see immediately. Dante makes the call to Michael. Not Willow. Michael does not get a concerned text from the mother of his children explaining what happened. He gets a call from a police officer telling him his children are at the station and someone needs to come get them. He finds out while he is already in the middle of a serious argument with Jacinda about what she did, which means the information lands on top of an emotional state that is already incandescent. Michael finding out his children are at the police station because Willow was pulled over for impaired driving while not having her license is not a small piece of information. It is the kind of information that reshapes a custody argument fundamentally. Michael has been playing a long game, being careful, building his case, collecting information methodically, working toward the moment when he could present a complete and devastating picture of why Willow should not have sole custody of these children.
He thought he had time.
He did not plan on Drew recovering suddenly. He did not plan on Jacinda snapping when the restraining order arrived. He did not plan on any of the events that have accelerated everything in the last 2 weeks. But the acceleration has landed here, at a police station, with his children sitting there waiting for someone to come get them while their mother is being processed for impaired driving without a license. This is not how Michael wanted to win.
He is explicit about that.
He wanted to win cleanly, with properly assembled evidence, through a process that did not involve traumatizing his children or creating a crisis. What Jacinda did was not what he asked for, and not what he would have sanctioned. But it happened. And Wiley and Amelia are at the station. And whatever Michael's feelings about how this came to be, the facts of what occurred are now part of a record that a family court will eventually see. Willow, somewhere in the processing of what has happened to her, is trying to call Nina. Not her attorney. Not the person whose professional job it is to protect her legally. Her mother. Which tells you everything about the emotional state she is in. She needs someone who loves her, not someone who represents her. And Nina, who has been Willow's constant, and is still fielding that call even as everything around their relationship is moving toward a reckoning that Willow does not yet fully understand is coming. Anna sets her trap, and Britt goes to find Rocco. Now let us talk about the storyline that has been building toward its most dangerous moment all summer, because Anna is moving and the window for stopping her is narrowing with every episode. Peter has been relentless. That is the word that best describes what Anna has been experiencing. The relentless quality of a voice that never fully quiets, that appears at the least convenient moments, that takes every interaction and every piece of information and reframes it through the lens of its own agenda. Anna has tried to push back. She has tried to assert her own judgment against the instructions that voice keeps delivering. But the crisis that happened before she came back to Port Charles was profound enough that her defenses are not what they were. She cannot fully hold the line. Britt, for her part, had a moment in the most recent episode that was vintage Britt in the best and most complicated way. She blew her top. She made the argument that she deserves compassion, that she was not a willing participant in any of what happened, that Cullum and Jens used her fake diagnosis as a lever to control her, that the Huntington's medication she stayed silent to protect turned out to be a lie, that she has been a victim in this story as much as anyone.
She wanted Anna to see that.
She wanted the person pointing blame in her direction to acknowledge that the full picture is more complicated than a simple accounting of who enabled what. The problem is that Peter does not want the full picture. The voice in Anna's head does not engage charitably with evidence of Britt's victimhood. It takes Britt's outburst, the very human, very understandable explosion of someone who is sick of being held responsible for things that were done to her, and reframes it as evidence of a lack of remorse. As confirmation that Britt does not feel the appropriate weight of what happened. As justification for what Peter has been pushing Anna toward. The trap is being set. That is the development that is most alarming right now. Anna is not just thinking about this anymore. She is not just being haunted by a voice that suggests terrible things. She is taking a step. She is putting something in place. A specific, physical, real-world preparation for doing something to Britt that cannot be undone. And Britt, entirely unaware of any of this, decides she wants to see Rocco. She is not really connected with him since the time they spent together, on the run, in situations that were frightening and forced them into a closeness that left a mark on both of them. Britt wants to check in. She wants to see how he is doing with everything that has happened. She wants to offer him whatever she can offer someone who is processing the weight of what occurred with the Cullum shooting and Jason's return and all of the complicated aftermath of a terrible period in Rocco's young life. It is a generous impulse. It is a genuine one. And it is going to accidentally save her life. Because when Britt tracks down Rocco, and the two of them are in the middle of what becomes a genuinely sweet reconnection, when there is something real and warm happening between them, something that is about care rather than crisis for possibly the first time in a long time, Anna, who has arrived with a plan in place, finds Rocco there. Rocco changes the calculation. Not because Anna makes a conscious decision that she cannot act in front of him, but because his presence introduces a human element into a situation that Peter has been abstracting in Anna's mind. It is one thing to carry out a plan against a target when that target is isolated and abstract. It is another thing when the person she is moving against is sitting with a teenager who clearly matters to her and who is being helped by that conversation in ways that are visible and immediate and undeniably real. Peter's instructions do not have an easy path forward in that room. The plan is disrupted. Anna is forced to delay. And Britt, who walked into that situation looking for Rocco and found something warm and reconnecting and genuinely good, walks back out of it alive. She does not know how close she came. She does not know that the person she is also trying to navigate a relationship with, the commissioner of the police department, the person who is supposed to be one of the town's most reliable forces for good, had something prepared for her. She simply knows that seeing Rocco was the right thing to do, and that she feels better for having done it. Rocco saved her without knowing he was saving her. By being someone worth visiting. By being present in a place and a moment that interrupted something terrible before it could happen. The delay is not a resolution. Anna is still unwell. Peter is still present and still pushing. The trap that was being set is merely paused, not dismantled. And Britt, who has no information that should prompt her to be careful around Anna, is going to keep moving through her days without the awareness that she needs. Someone needs to reach Anna before the next opening presents itself. Jason is the most likely candidate to notice something is genuinely wrong. Liesel, who has maternal radar for threats to Britt that functions independently of logic or evidence, may sense something even before she can articulate it. But right now, the clock that started ticking when Anna began setting that trap is still running.